It's, yeah. All right. Well, I could exit executive session at 18:26. We'll move back into the agenda and we will push our visitors to be heard, Mrs. Lynn Brand from South Dakota Public Insurance Alliance until she arrives. Were you going to send her a text? She's going to come at 7.
I can ask her to come.
Yeah, either or.
Okay.
Either or. But we will factor her in when she arrives. Item number 7 on the agenda is committee and mayoral report. I talked entirely too much on Thursday, so I don't have anything. I don't think we have any committee reports that are due. Item number 8 on the agenda is our July financial report, of which everybody should have.
Okay, so everyone should have a copy of the July financial report. A few of the large expenses that went through July was Metro Construction, which was the Bach Housing Development for $802,032. Troy Construction did some concrete, the pad around the new patio for $26,513. Ben purchased patio furniture for the new patio at the bridges. That came in at $5,647. We had Merle and Roy do topsoil and grass seed along the parking lot at the volunteer park, the new ball field addition. That was $14,883. And Site Works for the wastewater treatment facility Sager system, we paid them $61,965. I am waiting on one more invoice to come in and so I'm thinking at the next meeting, I'll report on our July 28th and 29th storms. Right now, we are just shy of $30,000. So it's looking like maybe we could use the contingency, $30,000 contingency fund to pay for these expenses. The majority of it was hauling trees. But it could have been worse.
How much do we still owe on the Sager system?
It's down towards the end. I would have to get that number for you.
Yeah,
Any mention of state, regional and or federal support for storms?
I have not heard.
And that process, if it occurs, will be further down the road, right? Declaration of emergency.
It'll have to be, and I really don't know if they'll do much for trees. Utilities, infrastructure, probably
Yeah.
would help if we had a bunch of damage that way, but I don't think tree, it's gonna fall into it.
so like having Sioux Falls come down to help
They
our
might, yeah.
electric
Did they
department.
bill us? The Sioux Falls bill us?
Not yet.
Yeah, that, they might help with that,
That's something we can be reimbursed for.
yeah, and whatever other damages, we might have that for our own.
Yeah.
They, we put it in, I put all that down, but that would help.
Yeah,
I didn't print the presentation, so I assume it's just in.
It's in our packet.
Okay.
Yep. So that is all I have for the financial.
Elaine and I were talking just before the meeting started, we got our sales tax revenue numbers for July, and it was the best month we've ever had. So that's at least since I've been tracking on my spreadsheets since 2016, so we were down a little bit for the year, about 7% behind what we would normally be. This brought us back to over where we should be for the year, so we're tracking pretty good. Don't really know what brought it up to that level. It's probably somebody that bought us some major equipment and then maybe they didn't pay it until later, or but usually that's when we have those big spikes like that. So it could have been something that maybe Suport purchased, had to pay some big taxes on for their new building addition. That building was probably delivered, so maybe they had to pay some taxes on land or something. So usually that's what helps.
maybe it was all the people that were in town for the state baseball tournament.
All every little bit else. They'll feature.
We even discussed like the old fashioned weekend. We have a, that's not in this time frame.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's yet to come.
Okay.
Then we also discussed maybe if there was some people that were behind on paying taxes that got caught up too. And there's a lot that comes to factor that we aren't given that information.
When I say that 193 or whatever it was, 190, that includes both the first and second penny and the third penny tax. The way the state does it online, you can just, that's how you can track it. And it shows you every other community in South Dakota and there's a lot of communities that were quite a ways behind where they need to be already, so I think we're pretty fortunate to be where we're at this point, so. Keep tracking them.
Anything else, Elaine?
No, that is all I have.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve the July financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the July financial report. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Financial report's approved. Lynn, hey, good afternoon. Sorry, we had have
No,
our
you are totally fine.
start, stop, you
Yes.
know, and
All
so,
good things,
yeah,
all good things.
we appreciate you coming. And so we've got your packet and I think your slide deck is in our read aheads.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I gave you a little bit of homework just now. We won't actually talk about that tonight. I will come back and visit with you later. So tonight, my goal is really just to kind of introduce you folks to the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, give you kind of an overview of what it is, what we do, who I am. And then, yeah, we were able to get our quote numbers put together for you, but since I wasn't sure if we would be able to do that and turn it around so quickly, I didn't want to like come with that expectation and then be like, oh, sorry, I don't have them. So, you get to take them home and you can pour over them and take a look at those. And then I'll be back if you've got any questions about the quote, but, so I'll just jump right into it because I know you guys have a lot more business to do and it's beautiful outside. And as much as we have loved the summer weather, I feel like winter is going to be upon us quicker than we expect. So I'm Lynn Brenn. I'm the executive director of the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. A little bit about me. I grew up in South Dakota, up by Watertown, graduated from Clear Lake High School, then it turned into Dual High School. Married my husband, we grew up 5 miles apart. We moved to Des Moines for about 5 years. That's where I learned all about the world of insurance. Because if you move to Des Moines, you're either going to be in insurance or banking, and I got into insurance. We moved back in 1999, and I started working for Claims Associates, who is the claims administrator for the risk pool. And fast forward 25 years, now I'm in the administrative side of the pool. So for about 18 years, I did the claims for the Public Assurance Alliance and then also 2 other public risk sharing pools for schools. So lots of experience, lots of history with the pool, actively involved when I was at claims writing the coverage documents and stuff like that. So really have kind of grown up. My whole adult life has been spent working with this risk pool. So I now my family and we live in Harrisburg, so just a small jaunt up the road. Plan to spend probably potentially the rest of our lives there. We'll see it depends on where the children end up, honestly, but do plan to be with the pool for I tell my board, I'll be here as long as you'll keep me or until they force me to retire. So a pool is a little different. I keep calling it the pool because we are a pool. We are not commercial insurance. We do offer coverage that is similar, very similar to what you will find in a commercial insurance coverage. Our coverage document, if you were to read it, same things, because the purpose is to provide the coverage that you need. The difference between a risk pool and an insurance company is really who our stakeholders are. Our members are our stakeholders, so everything we do is for our members. We take the funds, we call them contribution dollars. We take those funds and we use those to pay and administer claims, and then also to provide the loss control and risk management services that the pool has to offer its members. So we only cover entities within South Dakota. So we cover cities, counties, conservation districts, townships, special purchasing districts. Those are kind of our focus. We have the ability to cover schools, but we do not yet have any schools, and we are not actively pursuing them at this time. So municipalities do make up about 75% of our total membership. We have 198 of the 311 incorporated cities and towns. So pretty wide range. I mean, we have Prairie Village that has population of 1, and we have the city of Sioux Falls that has the largest population in the state. So we like to say that we treat those smallest members with as much respect and as attention as we do the largest members. Quite frankly, we probably give them more attention just because, you know, they don't always have all the specialized attorneys and what have you. So we're here for them. Like the local governments in South Dakota, they are why we do what we do. And so we're very proud of being able to provide a service to local governments in South Dakota. So a little bit about the pool. Go to the history slide if you're following along. The South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance and all of the other risk sharing pools in South Dakota were formed in 1986, 1987. We were formed in response to a hardening insurance market. And what that means is commercial insurance was either unwilling or unable to provide coverage that was sufficient for public entities, or they were pricing it in such a fashion that it was simply unaffordable. So enter in, the South Dakota legislature got it right. They offered local governments another avenue for securing coverage to protect their assets against risk. So the enabling statutes were created in 1986. In 1987, the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance wrote its first coverages to 7 founding entities. We started out as a liability-only group, and a short time later, they added property. Fast forward to today, we have over 500 members. We are able to boast that we have over 90% of the local governments across South Dakota. We have 64 of 66 counties. We talked about towns, and then we've got a nice spread of the conservation districts, townships, and other special purchasing districts. Locally, so we just brought Lincoln County into the pool. We do provide coverage for Harrisburg, T. When we talk about our board, you'll see that the T city administrator sits on our board of directors. We have Hudson, we have Chancellor, Worthing, Freiburg, kind of all the communities kind of around you guys. They're members of the pool. So if you have any questions about, hey, how's the service, we would invite you to, give your neighbor a call and just ask them, hey, what do you think? We've not reached out and said, hey, will you give a testimonial? But we are quite confident that our service will speak volumes. And you can see us at any time at any of the league sponsored trainings, conferences, and stuff like that too. So always happy to talk to you guys, but certainly reach out to your neighbor friends.
You've also talked about Volga, Vermilion, and Watertown Evolve.
Yep.
Which are municipally owned utilities. They bought their own electric. And so I think it's important that they do deal with the municipal electrics, and probably not much for municipal telephones unless you do Brookings.
We have Brookings. So we have Brookings and we have Brookings Utilities. They, for a while, they were one combined entity, and about 7 years ago, they opted to split to become 2 separate members. And so, yeah, we have Brookings Municipal Utilities as its own separate membership now. And we have the city of Brookings. We have Watertown, and Watertown Utilities still is under that umbrella with Watertown. But yes, we have Volga. We have Aberdeen. Our as of 12/31/24 membership list is, well, it will be posted shortly. We are working on our annual report now, but the 23 list. So every year we post our annual reports on their website. But yeah, we have, like I said, the only of the major cities that we don't have right now is Rapid City. So, our team is made up, right now we have 6 folks that work on the administrative side of the risk sharing pool. Jerry Cranback, if you've come to any of the league events, you've heard a lot about Jerry. He is working his way out. He's getting ready to retire. He was the mayor of Spearfish for a while. He was a fire chief. So he has brought really just a ton of knowledge and experience onto our team. And we are hoping that he can give as much of that knowledge to Hampton, who we have just brought on. He's a young man he's going to bring some really fresh ideas to the pool as far as, what types of marketing, things like that you guys could benefit from. But we're excited to bring him on board. He's just new and young and fresh, and we're pretty excited about that. But you guys would actually be serviced more by either myself or Becky Brunsing. Becky comes from Wagner. She was a city administrator for 20 years, I think, before we stole her away from your side of the table and brought her to my side of the table. She has been phenomenal. I love her insight. She's able to kind of give some advice on some things that maybe I can't, because I came, again, from the claim side of things. But her experience in that role has really been just invaluable. And that's really what we focus on, is bringing in folks to work with you guys and serve you guys that can give some perspective and who maybe can appreciate where you're coming from and stuff like that. Petra Nichols and Christina Peterson, both are underwriters. So they had underwriting experience prior to coming to the pool, but they've each been with the pool they're celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year. So lots of longevity, lots of knowledge and experience. And these folks on our team are really devoted to serving public entities in South Dakota. That's their passion, and I love all of them for it. So,
And how many years? You?
I have been on the pool side for just over 8 years. So I came over to the risk pool in 2017 as the director of member services, moved up to deputy director, and then in April of 23, I became the executive director. So, and hopefully we'll be here for, I think I can work under state retirement for like 30 years. So, you'll probably be sick of me by then. If we can get you on board, then that's okay. I'll take it. The SDPA is governed by an 11-member board of directors. So 2 seats on our board will always be held by the executive director of the South Dakota Municipal League, and the other will always be held by the executive director of Association of County Commissioners. So whoever holds that title will have a voting seat on the board. So those 2 views will always be represented. So the interests will always be represented on the board. The balance of those 9 remaining seats, 6 of those are held by municipalities. Again, I talked about Justin Weiland, now the city administrator for T. He sits on our board. He is currently our vice chair. And when he is ready, then he will be able to move up to that chairman's role. The other 3 seats are held by county representatives. And you can see by the slide there, it's not just city administrators. We've got mayors, we have finance officers, we have a deputy state's attorney, commissioners. So every year there are 3 seats up for reelection in our board of directors. And if you're ever interested and you are a member of the SDPA, then you are able to get a resolution of support, and then the nominating committee would consider bringing you onto the board. It just depends on what seats are open and the interest and what your talents and expertise are, because certainly we want to make sure that our board is filled with folks that have the expertise that we're looking for and needed. These guys are really focused on making sure that the pool stays financially stable and healthy. So they focus a lot on our investment plans, our investment strategies. If you were to look at our investment policy, it might look a lot like your own, because we feel that we are going to hold ourselves to the same standards and not just standards, but also the requirements that you have as far as, we only invest in certain types of investment opportunities and things like that. Our investment partner is First National Bank out of Sioux Falls. So they are constantly aware, and they will be watching the market, and they make recommendations to us as far as, hey, these are some changes that we could maybe see in your investment policy and stuff like that. So again, more local partners, focusing on things that are happening locally, maybe also looking at what trends we might be seeing. Hey, where might we need some funding and stuff like that. But this board of directors, these folks are here to serve you guys. So a little bit about our coverage. I had mentioned that coverage is going to look really similar to what you have now. We have blanket coverage, which is something you guys already enjoy. We have all covered perils unless they're excluded, similarly to what you've got going on now. What we don't have is co-insurance. Rather than having a co-insurance clause, which basically makes you and your agent responsible for ensuring that your values are appropriate, we do property evaluations, property appraisals. We conduct those as soon as we can. We try to get out to you within 90 days of coming on board to the pool. It just depends on what scheduling is like, but within that first probably 90 days to 6 months, you'll get an on-site appraisal, and then they schedule every 5 years. They come back, and then during that time, we just make sure that your property values are appropriate. On off years, when you don't have an appraisal, we do a inflation guard. So we have an automatic. We don't say it's going to be 3% or 5% or 8% every year. What we do is we look at what construction trends are. We work with our appraisal company to see what's happening across the nation, because like most things, trends tend to start on the coasts and work their way in. So we've got a little bit of insight of what's happening out there before then we have to decide what we need to do to make sure that our values stay as close as we can to keeping up with what inflation might do. Now, when we had COVID and when the economy does really great and weird things, sometimes we don't get to keep up with that quite as well, but that's where that blanket coverage comes into play, and it's important that we make sure that we get as close as we can, right? We don't have a separate wind hail deductible, so when you look at when you go home and you do your homework and you look, we have quoted you a $5,000 deductible. That is a per occurrence deductible for all your properties, and so your buildings and your contents. If you were to happen to have, say, there's a grader or some piece of mobile equipment that's also damaged, still one per occurrence deductible, even if there's cars involved. We just apply the highest of any applicable deductible. So in this case, it would be the $5,000 that we've quoted. I did do $1,000 deductible quote just to see what that would look like in contribution difference. It's about $8,600 more to bring all your buildings and contents down to $1,000 deductible. So you lose the savings recognition after about 2 claims. But that's completely up to you guys. It's something to consider, something to think about. We have other deductible options. Those were just the 2 because when we had quoted you guys or tried a few years ago, you were at $1,000 deductible. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna see what it looks like and see, put that option out there. Honestly, the savings is something I would probably say you've already got a $5,000 all other peril deductible. Probably just go ahead and stick with that. But again, that's completely up to you guys.
Yeah, I think 41 places that we insure.
Mhm.
So just explain how that would happen. What would happen if we had a derecho that goes through and all 41 sites are hit?
So if all 41 sites are hit, the first thing we do is in your homework packets, there's some discussion about the different types of coverage, replacement cost versus stated value versus actual cash value. But what we would do is, first of all, we would need you to understand that the most that's going to be paid at any one claim for all of your properties is the blanket limit. So the bottom line total of all the locations on your schedule, that's the most that we're going to be able to pay out for any one claim. So for claims that have coverage at replacement cost, we will pay up to the blanket limit. Again, if it's just one, but if it's all of them, it's the blanket limit, and we pay you replacement cost. So like kind and quality materials of what you had before, again, up to that blanket limit. Stated value is going to give you replacement cost, but up to the limit associated with that particular property. So if you have, say we put the city hall, and I'm just going to use a small number because it's easy. Say we say, okay, we're going to do city hall at $500,000 at stated value. Regardless of the blanket, the most you would get for the city hall would be the $500,000 because it's a stated value. So we've agreed that, hey, replacement cost up to that limit. Replacement costs, you can fall down to that blanket. One deductible, though. So if the whole town is destroyed, which I hope never happens, but unfortunately we've seen it in other communities where it can and it has happened. And that's why we too kind of keep a close eye on where that blanket is, because you can start changing and being comfortable with, I'm okay with this much at this location, but we really want to keep an eye on that blanket limit, because at the end of the day, if something truly catastrophic happens, that's the number that you're going to be kind of focused on and looking at.
So our deductible, let's just say, if we have 40, let's just say 40 properties, do we pay 5,000 on each property, or are we maximum one time 5,000 for everything? So
One occurrence deductible. So
all
one big derecho, one deductible,
$5,000.
$5,000. So again, we hope that the whole town is never destroyed, but if it is just that one $5,000 deductible. And then what happens, and I'll kind of just give you an example of a claims type situation. So like you purchasing coverage to protect your assets, the pool also protects the assets of all of the members and the pool's assets by purchasing what's called reinsurance. So we buy coverage that then would come in and pick up. So we've decided that we are able to fund, and we're comfortable with absorbing for a wind and hail event $1.5 million per occurrence. And then anything that's above that, we have purchased reinsurance for. So if somebody were to ever say, well, you don't have enough money in the bank to pay for a $28 million blanket limit loss. You're right, we don't, but we don't need to, because like we've purchased coverage for that. And so we go through actuarial audits every year, and they tell us, hey, here's what your funding should be based on the type of reinsurance you're purchasing, based on your self-insured retentions that you're comfortable with. Here's the funding that you need to do. So just, that's like a little sidebar that's not included in the slides, but that's how that would work. You would still, though, only deal with the adjusters at Claims Associates. If reinsurance wanted to send an adjuster out, Claims Associates would come with and walk by you side by side with the reinsurance adjuster. In my almost 17 and a half, 18 years of handling claims, I think we had reinsurance adjusters out a small handful of times across the thousands of claims that I was involved in. So it's not common. Usually they rely on our adjusters. If they've got questions, they bring that back to us, but we are still responsible for managing payments and stuff like that ahead of the time. So, and if you ever have any questions about a claim situation, I'm your claims liaison, because again, I worked at Claims Associates for, almost 2 decades. Some of those folks I actually trained to do their jobs. I'm heavily involved. I don't want to call myself an expert, but I am an expert in our coverage document because again, I'm in it weekly at least. Always looking at, okay, are we doing what's right by our members? Do we need to change anything? We're comparing what we've got to what other pools are doing. We also are under reinsurance confines, like we need to make sure that we're offering coverage that is also covered by reinsurance documents and stuff like that. So, but I'm your claims liaison and nobody's going to fight harder for you than I will. But on the same token, if there's something that legitimately just isn't covered or it's not right, then we're going to sit down and talk about it and make sure that you guys understand why it's not covered or why there's confusion, and we'll work through it. So whether I have to come and sit here with you guys or if we drive up to Sioux Falls and sit at the Claims Associates office, we'll do that. We'll make sure that you guys get taken care of. So liability coverage. So we write all of our liability under one document. We call it the Governmental Liability Coverage Agreement. It has our general liability, so your slip, trip and falls, sewer backups, things like that. Also your public officials E&O coverage. So if people have issues, they want to make claims against the council for things they did, and also your employment related matters. So if there's any terminations or whatever, harassment claims, those also fall under that document. And then law enforcement coverage. It's all under that one line of coverage. You do have the opportunity to have a different liability limit for law enforcement versus your governmental liability. That's completely up to you. We are quoting everything all under the same limit, which is what you've got right now. So you'll see that in the document or in the homework. I did do a couple other limits quotes just so you have some comparison to see pricing wise what that looks like and stuff like that. We have a second coverage document for auto liability because it is its own standalone document. You'll see that everywhere you go. There are some definition in terms that they're unique to auto liability and also laws that we need to make sure we're complying with. So auto liability separate, but again, it's the same limit as all your other liability lines. We do have an exclusion for housing authorities, but you guys do have a housing authority and we will write your housing authority. We just don't offer any habitational or residential liability exposure, and you don't have that because you're not acting as landlords. If for some reason you entered into something like that, then what we would do is we would work with our broker to find a coverage that would pick up that exposure. We have other housing authorities. We've got one in Crooks. We've got some out West River. There's quite a few entities that have the housing authority as part of their community covered under either their city umbrella. We actually have a couple counties, I think, that have them under their umbrella. So we do cover them. It's just, we want to make sure that we're covering only the exposures that are mostly typical to local governments, that residential exposure, tenant liability, that's not really typical to something that we would see for most communities. So we exclude it, but we can bring it back in, and we do have that quoted for you as well. We would do that acceptance. We've quoted the enhanced crime coverage. So it is a blanket coverage. It covers all of your part-time, full-time employees and all of your appointed and elected officials, whether they need to be bonded or not. There's a statute that allows for the blanket enhanced crime coverage to sit in the place of the like your finance officer bond, so long as our limit, which is $1 million, is at least what your community has decided or that statutorily you're required to cover for a bond. So I would say all of our members, there are a few that don't have the crime coverage. There are a few that still insist on keeping their finance officer bonds and take the enhanced crime. But I think your price on the $1 million limit, no deductible, is $67 a year. So a fraction of what you're probably paying for your finance officer bond, and it will satisfy that. Mr. Schnabel up at Legislative Audit has my number on speed dial, and he knows my email because he has some communities that when he's doing audits, he's like, hey, Lynn, they're a member of the pool. Do they have that crime coverage? Yep, here you go. So we just send him the information and he's great with that. So Roger and I are good friends. The cyber liability coverage, so our cyber coverage, every member who has liability, which is every member of the pool, has some built-in cyber liability coverage. It is not a separate line item. Our crime and our cyber coverages are written outside of the pool coverage, so this is what we call a pass-through. So these effective dates are 1/1 for every member. So 1/1 to 12/31, that's what those policy dates are. Our cyber coverage that's automatically included is $500,000 per year with a $15,000 deductible. In your homework packet, you'll be able to see all of the packets. We are working on focusing a lot more on education because it's not a matter of if you're going to have a cyber attack, it's a matter of when you will get a cyber attack. The most common, and it's probably the easiest one to avoid, but the most common claim we are seeing lately is we are getting emails that ask our members to update banking information. Either, hey, we're no longer accepting checks, or our ACH information is changing. Can you just update it in your system? And rather than making a phone call to a trusted source, we either reply back with, oh yeah, we can do that. Are you sure? And yep, they're already in our email, folks. They already know how we do business with our trusted vendors. They know how they talk. They know how they react. So we need to make a phone call. But unfortunately, we don't always do that. And so then we change banking information and we send money. And now we're without our funding. So that is one of the most common types of claims. And it's so easy to avoid. But in a day where we're so much about instant gratification and like, okay, get it off our desk because we got to get on to the next thing, it's happening. So we are focusing more on what educational tools can we bring in. With that, I'm going to give a little plug to Secure South Dakota. Make sure if you haven't already contacted those folks to get any updates, grant money, do the project boundary fence, all of those things. Whether you join the pool or not, those are out there for you, free for you to take advantage of. So absolutely do that. If you decide that the $500,000 aggregate is not sufficient, then we will quote a standalone coverage that will sit above that included coverage. So then you're only paying for that excess coverage over and above what you would want. And that would be yours alone, that standalone excess. Resources, so I talked about the fact that we do coverage, and then the other side of our coin is loss control and risk management. So we focus a lot on helping members recognize risks that they're facing and then giving them the tools that they need to either eliminate that risk or mitigate it the best they can. So we have loss control surveys. Those are done. So you already do actually the loss control survey, a big part of it, because you're members of the work comp fund. We use safety benefits also to do our loss control surveys. And so you will know in your homework that you have some introductory loss control and law enforcement credits. It's because of your experience with safety benefits through the work comp fund that we are able to go ahead and put those in there. So that was one of the things I didn't know if I would get back in time to get you your numbers, but they came back this morning, so we were able to put that together for you. Property valuations, we talked about a little bit. We have, you don't have a jail here, but we have specialized jail training and law enforcement training. So all of our law enforcement folks have access to LLRMI. So we have specialized policies and procedures created specifically for South Dakota folks. If there's any law changes, our friends at LLRMI are in our documents, making sure that updates are made, getting updated training and stuff like that. They also offer lots of resources for debriefing and some media assistance. So if you've got a big incident that happens, I've heard a lot of good feedback about how responsive they are with assisting, like, okay, how do we communicate this to the public, get the right information in the right manner to the right folks so that, you know, we keep everybody calm, but also informed, right? And then we have a boatload of live and online on-demand training. Again, you get access to a lot of that already through the work comp fund. Through the SCPA, you get just a little bit more, especially that law enforcement component of it. It really is the exponential part. In your take-home packets, you will have, there's 2 brochures in there about hotlines. The employment practices and the government practices hotline, it's 1 phone number, 2 different kind of subject matters. So employment practices was the first one that came. We were seeing a spike in employment related claims. So we created the hotline to serve as a resource for local governments and for local council, because not every council is an expert at everything. I mean, we really wish they could be, but sometimes there's things that just really it gets outside of the park, or they might just be overwhelmed and be like, I just really want a second opinion. I want some reinforcement that this is where we go and stuff like that. So we do have an employment practices hotline. It is connected to our employment practices deductible. So every member has a $5,000 employment practices deductible. But if you call the hotline and follow advice of counsel, then the deductible's waived if a claim is made. So it's really just a great resource. Again, we never want to replace your local counsel, but we want to offer them assistance and a resource for them to reach out and use. Government practices has no deductible tie-ins, but it's the same philosophy. Any other questions? You can reach out to the government practices hotline, get some advice. Sometimes it's literally just, I just need to bounce this question off of another attorney. Who can you hook me up with? And we have a whole panel of attorneys. Most of them also do defense work for the pool. So it's, hey, this is probably a claim that you've seen before, handled before, can you give counsel a call? And I have heard nothing but really great feedback about it. Our counsels that we engage with know that we expect a pretty quick turnaround. And everybody has really been just great to work with. I feel like we get good feedback from members. So it is a resource that we will continue to fund, and if we need to expand it in the future, we'll certainly do that. And then people. I mean, people are, in your community, people are your biggest resource, your most valuable resource. We have local claim staff. We've got your local admin team, your local loss control folks. Your people are here to serve you. You are their focus. And so we give them a shout out. We feel that they are our best and biggest resource that we have to offer. The claims reporting information, I have this in here because this is a very similar presentation that I did a video earlier this year at the newly elected officials training. Claims reporting, mostly it's just to point out that it's claims associates. It's folks that you're already dealing with. It's folks that you already have a relationship with. So it's not like if you're changing from EMC and you come to the pool, it's going to be this awkward void where you're not sure how you're going to react or how the service will be. These folks, and these folks know you. They know where you are, and they know the things that you're facing. And again, if there's something that comes up, if you've got questions, I'm your claims liaison, and I am 35 minutes away. And then we'll go together to claims if we need to, or I'll bring them down here and we'll get through it. So I've got my contact information for you. It's in your slide deck. It's also in the back of the packet of information. As you're going through that, if you have questions, let me know. If you have any comments, if you want to see something quoted differently, let Elaine know. We can work through and we can get some different numbers to you. Honestly, this pool is really, I joke, kind of that I love this pool almost more than my family most days. So we'll do, whatever it takes to make sure that the pool remains a healthy, stable option for local governments in South Dakota for as long as I'm in this chair. And I am instilling that vision and passion in the rest of my team. And so we're all here for you every day. So do you have any questions? I talk really fast, and honestly, I could talk about this all day, but you're like, no, please don't.
No, we appreciate it. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Perfect.
When you talk about the cyber coverage, we're in a different position with having the internet as a provider. Is that additional risk that you would see beyond just?
Not at this point.
Okay.
You've mentioned you are unique that way, and we've not had any, we've not heard of claims as far as like even claims from other communities and stuff like that. It's something that we would ask our carrier to take a look at to see if, hey, are there any issues with, do we have enough? Is there something special we need to do? Because right now it's a pooled cyber liability document, and it's pretty broad as far as what the coverages are and stuff like that, but there's no application forms. So they take you as you are. When we take you, they take you. So.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Lynn.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your time, and you get to hear from me again. We'll go through the numbers next time when I come and visit with you guys. And then after that, then you can decide what you'd like for us to do. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Appreciate it.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, that was item number 6 on the agenda, but we've already satisfied number 7 and 8, so we'll move on to number 9.
1 second.
Oh, my,
So right now we do all this through Jensen
We do.
and
We're up for renewal. We just thought it'd be time to take a look at it because of the deductibles is what was really a concern for us. And I know they're looking at different options, but if they're having trouble finding anything in the open market that can get us back down to these type of deductibles that we're looking at, so.
okay.
So we
Right
don't
now
have the
we
number
have-
yet from them, do we?
What's that?
We don't have the renewal from them.
Not for EMC.
Okay.
But last year we found out that EMC would no longer cover the old city hall, the council chambers, the senior citizen center, and then the switch building. So then Jensen Agency had to go out and find auto owners to cover us. So we actually have 2 different insurance policies and
Yeah.
when I'm at HR finance officer school, every time Lynn catches me and she's just like, is this the year we're gonna give you a quote? And kind of felt maybe it was time to give her another try, and it was 21, I think, the last time she gave us a quote.
I think when we had the storm go through and we were calling about someone, if we had anything and it was $25,000 for each building, it's you start thinking about that. You know, I guess, well, that's why I wanted to be clear that if we have an event that goes through, it's $5,000 for all of our buildings. With our exposure right now, it's could be up to $1 million compared to 5,000, so. Something to look at.
And right
And
now,
we talked to Zach and he's aware of the deductibles they have, so he's trying to find something, but. I don't know if there's anything out there.
but even right now with the storm that we had on July 28th and the damage we sustained at the clubhouse, none of it is covered. 3 brand new TVs were destroyed,
The
the
walls.
patio
back,
furniture,
and
some of it.
Walls on the cart shed, it's all blew off, but. It's $25,000 deductible. For each building. Not covered.
And it's just property and liability. And like an umbrella policy, it's not health or anything like that, but auto, they would cover all our vehicles.
Yep. I
They
believe
basically
that's.
cover everything the same.
Okay. So,
Lynn has a lot of energy,
I
a lot.
So between now and when we make this decision, I think probably one thing would be helpful to understand is the difference between a risk pool and an insurance company. You know, not that I feel like I understand each, you know, like there are probably pros and cons. When you see their the number of organizations deal with across the state now, that's risen. I think that's obviously food for thought, so.
And then I believe she said that they have all but 2 counties. State of South Dakota. That speaks volume.
64 of 66. And they just signed Lincoln
And Union.
and Union.
And they have Hudson. So I'm sure they could give us some insight on how it,
Yeah.
with their storm.
Ask Mayor Wicker how things went, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions about that? Thanks, Mike. Moving on to old business, we have a request to change the adult charity softball tournament from the 20th to 21st due to scheduling. We need a motion for that, Jerry, is that just
I
a,
think we should just make a motion to do it the next day. Yeah.
Consumption of alcohol on public property and that,
okay,
just change the date of that, yeah.
I make a motion to change the adult charity softball tournament from September 10th to September 21st due to scheduling conflict.
Second,
motion is second on the table to move the date of the adult charity softball tournament from the 20th to the 21st due to scheduling conflicts. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye,
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Volunteer park playground equipment options.
I think we're gonna just ask to table that till next meeting. We've got still working with them to get some more information.
Okay.
From the one provider.
We will table item 9B. New business, request to place a crosswalk on East Elm between Wattsburg Preschool and the elementary school auditorium.
I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that. Obviously, it's always a good idea. It's just a matter of what it would take to do this. So I reached out to Pat Carey and, he said, yeah, obviously you can do that. He just recommended if you're gonna do it, make sure you probably have someone that understands the rules and all that kind of stuff as far as what needs to be placed, where signage, and he even said you may have to put some flashing lights up, things like that. So it's not just as easy as go out and painting 2 lines and calling it a crosswalk. There's gonna be a lot of signage that is needed. And he said possibly some some flashing lights. And I know some places, they'll actually have somebody put something in the middle of the road to try to alert people that there's a crosswalk there, because I mean, the worst that's gonna happen is you got these 4 or 5-year-olds running back and forth just because there's a crosswalk there without any type of signage. So I don't know if you guys, if this is something we want to pursue, we'll sure talk about it a little bit more with Pat. He can draw something up, if we want to do it that way.
Why would we have to get Pat Carey involved?
Just because of the roads, he knows the signage rules and all that kind of stuff. There's a national signage deal that you have to follow all these kind of things. I've got an old book that was probably put back in 2005, but there's a lot of rules and regulations, well, crosswalks and things like that, especially on a non-designated without a stop sign on it. I mean, if you had a stop sign there, probably maybe we could get by with it. I don't know how you'd post it in that particular area though.
I mean, you're already in a school zone, so I wouldn't think too much extra work. And it'd be similar to what we got by the pool, right? Only when
Probably.
schools and such,
But no, that doesn't block, it's just a speed restriction.
but it's only during certain times.
Oh, it's all the time.
Oh, is it? I thought when the light was flashing, it's,
Well, they turn the light on when there's kids there, but but as I recall the history of that, they wanted to just leave it rather than say when children are present or when lights flashing. It's 15 year round. I don't think they enforce it when there's not activity at the pool.
okay,
But they also said that's entrance to and from the park.
right.
So it's not just pool, it's access there. And the other issue with crosswalks and signage proper, want to make sure you're following the standards that are set so that if there is an issue, you can say, well, we probably had it marked according to the national standards for these types of things, because when you have someone makes a claim that what's a crosswalk, but you didn't mark it properly, that's where you've got exposure. So making sure you're compliant.
Yeah, especially a mid-block crossing.
Right.
Anytime you have a crossing where it's, people expect it at intersections. If it's mid-block, they don't, the drivers.
I want to say that there was quite a few of our survey respondents that,
I was gonna say, if you do like this crosswalk here and you have to get all the signage, I don't know what it takes. Do you have to have people come out and survey it, or it's just,
I think Banner would probably lay something out for us. They're gonna charge us to do all of that.
can you?
Then you could hire,
see-
he said just recommends hiring someone that does that, obviously.
Can you then see, would they be able to do something on 46 as they're doing this at the same time?
We could ask, but state highway pretty much controls that.
Okay.
So you basically have to go through them to do anything, and then they have to do
Their
they
survey.
do traffic counts and all this other stuff.
I like what Kayla's saying though, because I mean, there's lessons we would learn
Well,
through this
if you're
process.
doing it at one, I mean, if you're doing it, you're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, I just thought if it was the same. Obviously, I know it's more DOT over in 46, but if we were thinking of maybe doing another one off of 46, what we could.
Mhm.
You know, if they were like the same, you know, where it's, I don't know, signage.
Some of us are old enough to remember there was a stoplight in 46, about 7th Street.
Can you bring it back?
And there was one at 3rd Street.
So like
That was
with
a 4-way stop.
the signs that here, if they have to have flashing lights or whatever, the. Like electric company can do that though, right, for
Yeah.
us? We don't have to pay somebody to. I mean.
We just buy the equipment, I would assume, all the different stuff, yeah.
I've seen some that they're actually solar operated and they're push buttons, so if if somebody's crossing, they push the button and the lights flash.
They have them on southeastern and,
You still take your life into your own hands,
41st.
to be honest.
Yeah.
At Sanford,
yeah,
when I'm trying to walk into work and you push the button, I mean, it does okay, but it's not, a
Tunnel's safer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tunnel, right.
yeah, 18th Street is, people are flying down that
You
street.
work at Stanford, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so,
so that's what it is. You push the button, the lights flash. And it talks, but of course, people in their vehicles don't hear it talking to you.
They've done a lot of work in the last year to implement those because staff got hit in the early morning.
The staff member that was hit by a drunk driver early in the morning on her way
Oh,
into work, into the OR.
oh, wow.
And so that's kind of what spurred that along a couple of those roads, but
What was the motivation for this request to move from the corner mid-block?
I think it's because of the daycare,
Okay.
the Bright Beginnings is right there, and that is where kindergarten and
Yeah,
first
I
grade.
saw that, but I didn't know why, if,
All of a sudden
It's,
it's
and the parents park there, the parents will park into the parking lot. I think that's more or less why it's there.
so,
And kids walk to the high school.
and Doc, so this is a request from the school district.
Correct.
Okay. Do they have any skin in the game as far as any costs on this, or?
That would be to be determined. They haven't offered up, so.
Okay,
Well, as we get further into the discussion about childcare, that's where some of these, so they're gonna have a strategic plan session coming up soon, and there will be talk of their contribution to that vision. And maybe that's as a smaller component of how we work better with the system going forward.
just curious.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe surrender to that too.
Yeah, I'll put these out soon, but just want
Do
everybody
you
to know
need a-
there's great.
Do you need a motion thing or?
Well, if you guys want us to move forward with that, then I can talk to Pat and we can start working out something there. And I guess once we have some idea what it might cost, we can run that by the school. Sure, they've done some of these, probably not a lot of, but maybe on some of the other streets that they've designed, they've probably done this with. Especially if they're around schools, so, yeah, if that's what you guys wanna move, I don't think we need a motion, I think we'll just, if you guys are okay with that, I'll just go ahead and get a hold of him and say, let's put a price together. What we think will cost, and then we'll move forward from there.
Could we just in the same time, cause I've heard several comments about the 46 crossing. Just explore, I guess, what the DOT to me is gonna be the say so on this. What is the process? Through the DOT to get a crossing there? Is it something that they're not even willing to consider it, or do they have to do traffic studies?
We'll talk to the area engineer out of Yankton there, he's helping us with this new trails grant we're working on, so.
Have you ever driven through Worthing?
No, recently, like,
Just go drive through Worthing. They have like 50 signs. There's no reason we can't have something on 46.
That's a county road.
Oh, the Worthing one is?
versus State Road.
Where's the?
We've been down this road quite a few
Yeah.
times before. No, I'm not opposed to it at all, just that they. Well, just to get the flashing red lights was a job in itself,
For the four-way stop.
and, yeah, for the four-way stop up there.
So do we need to
We've
wait
asked them to do one
till
down Casey to get cross over.
46 is finished? Then it'll be busier?
It's a.
Well, I mean, I think we could do anything, we do it now, we do less traffic. There needs to be
They
traffic.
follow, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
Where is it being proposed on 46?
Somewhere where the kids from the north side can get to this.
I would say
South side.
7th or 8th. Because there's kids that come back over from cross 46 and they hop on the Maple and 5th Street bus. So it's at 5th Street is where the bus stops.
The bus doesn't go across 46?
Just don't.
It does, but it's,
So.
we ride on.
Okay.
So I would say 7th, 8th is the one that goes to the park. 7th is the one that goes to the high school.
Back in the 70s, there was a crosswalk, but they had the red lights, they hit a button and the stoplight would come on, basically, and the kids were able to walk back and forth, and they took that out. So that's been a long time ago, and we've asked many times to do more, and they just refused, but maybe there's been a change of heart here lately, and we should, we'll pass that by. We've got a new area administrator, so we can sure run it by him and see what he says. I think it's a great idea, if they'll let us do it.
I mean, is that safety of getting to school route?
They used it all accidents, near accidents.
Especially with
We've
the
had
box
trucks
development.
filled with fuel,
We're
fuel
looking
around
at
the stop sign,
putting
we had it all.
young families up there, and it's gonna put even more younger kids up north.
And then to go across.
So they do have, at least Third Street, at least you got a four-way stop.
Right.
That's the only control in that intersection, so.
I had Jared come in earlier, so that's true, you guys are okay with that.
Yes.
Come on in, we're just wrapping up, just pull a chair up if you want, I don't, we weren't expecting a big crowd, so. Okay, I think I'll just talk to him, to kind of get a feel for that, I'm gonna walk it all the path and see if he can give us some, just a rough cost estimate of what we're looking at. In Dartmouth School, so.
All right, that was, item one on new business, real quick, we want to continue with the agenda, we want to move into executive.
Yeah, let's finish it up here.
Item 10B, accept resignation of Deb Johnson, Beresford Public Library, so.
It's just a motion, we,
Make a motion to accept Deb Johnson's resignation from the public library.
So if this doesn't pass, she can't quit.
She'd be happy with you.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to accept Deb Johnson's resignation from the Beresford Public Library. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And item 10C, authorize advertising for a part-time librarian at Beresford Public Library.
Elaine, is this about a 24 to 28 hour position? with
She's
some
actually
benefits?
reducing it to 19 hours
Okay,
to start.
okay, then that wouldn't be benefits and stuff, so, okay. Well, I think she's now already probably good at advertising, so we'll just, if we have a motion, we'll just put it out there. We don't spend a lot of money on this. We usually just kind of advertise it mostly local, so.
If you know,
Motion. Sorry, authorize advertising for a part-time librarian. Second.
Motion and second to authorize advertising for a part-time librarian, at Beresford Public Library. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I don't believe we have any other additional discussion or information items. Looks like the item that's in bills is actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm above, Elaine.
Yeah. So, we do have one travel request. South Dakota Municipal League Annual Conference Pier, September 30 through October 3rd. River Johnson, Simon Sanson, and Shirk and Hudbright.
Make a motion to approve the travel requests.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion is second on the table to approve the travel request. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I came from a department that if I was gonna retire, they wouldn't let me travel anywhere 6 months before I retired. But I'm just saying. But at the same time, I mean, if I don't know what goes on, but if it's appropriate, that's great. But should we prepare to send the new administrator with you?
That'll be ideal. We have one by now. Absolutely.
I've already mentioned that.
Okay.
And I have the extra room ready.
Just make them stay with
the
Jerry. They need to absorb everything Jerry knows anyway. So this is-
I mean, my 26th time out there.
We need to have a farewell tour, the final tour.
It's a departure from previous policy that I was aware of, so just curious.
Makes great sense. All right, I believe we have a motion second on the table to authorize travel requests. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries, travel request approved.
Make a motion that we pay the bills. Second.
Motion is second on the table to pay the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Let the record reflect that we will pay our bills. Right, do not see any additional business beyond version 2.0 of our executive session. I will entertain a motion and a second to enter into executive session for personnel.
So moved.
Second. Motion second on the table to enter into executive session for personnel at 19:25. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Give us a few seconds. Jared will get